Ah, well, glory me and glory be. We've done it yet again. Hold on, making sure. There we go. There we go. Just making sure everything's good on the level. How you guys all doing today? I'm just going to start with a song. This is one of my favorite tunes that I made up. I'm actually in a good mood today, but for various reasons. But I like this song anyway, so I'm going to play it. Whoa! Gotta sleep another month inside this car. The wage they pay me with don't get me very far. The chains that hold me break me down, but they don't scar. Can't even drink away my blues inside a bar, and this year sucks. This year sucks. Can you blame a man for trying to give it up, and this year sucks. Another day won't help that pain inside your back. The days get harder, but it's too hard to keep track. They keep you tired before your soul opens a crack. And God don't care what monkeys think about the facts. And this year sucks. This year sucks. Can you blame a man for trying to give it up? And this year sucks. So sit atop your pile of bones and bloody gold, and human sacrifice don't stop you being old. At least you'll die before the bomb you said explodes. We're gonna burn to death while doing what we're told, and this year sucks. This year sucks. Can you blame a man for trying to give it up, and this year sucks. It burns down anyway. It burns down anyway. It burns down anyway. It burns down anyway. Yeah. Man, I love playing that tune. I love that tune. That tune kicks ass. That tune kicks ass. Like that song is gonna be in a movie where like the protagonist's whole life is just blown up, and it's gonna be like the montage where they're gonna fight back and they're like gonna gear up and get on a motorcycle and like go off a ramp and like shoot the guns and throw the bombs, and like the bad guys are gonna be like, whoa, and they're gonna be like, yeah. And they're going to land, and there's going to be like a dialogue exchange while the guitar goes. And then there's going to be like a sick fight sequence while it's like it burns down anyway while the whole thing is on fire. It's going to be sick. And then it's like then the hero will like kill the bad guy and then like walk away from the fire, and it'll be like that last like yeah while like the fire's going back, and they'll like put on the glasses. It'll be kick-ass. Yeah, it'll be kick-ass. I'm 100% sure that is going to happen. For sure. I have seen the future. It's nice to dream. It's nice to dream. It's nice to have these dreams and to believe that such things can happen. I'm really, really waiting for the open mic nights to start again. That's what I'm really looking forward to, right? Like, because this digital format is poopy. I don't like it. I actually really don't like it. It's nice that I get to play my music for people and I get a good feedback from people, and that's all lovely. That's all nice. But there's nothing like the exchange of energy. Like, the energy exchange is what's absolutely required. Because, like, I only speculate on how good a lot of these songs are, right? Like, some of the tunes that I play, I like, right? And I believe they are good. But the truth is that you don't know how good they are until you put them in front of people, until you put them in front of a group of people, and you because there's an involuntary energy exchange that you can tell. Like, you can tell that you go, you play the music out, and then the response from the audience comes back. And even if you think about it as rudimentary as, like, their clap or their response in terms of, woo, like that kind of thing. But once you get in tune with the energy exchange, you can really feel, like, and you know right away, like, is this song good, or is it, do you need to go back to the drawing board? And I miss it. I miss that so much. Ruth, how you doing, Ruth? Good to see you, as always. A pleasure. Moist Watermelon. Don't know if I've ever seen you. Good to see you. Hope you're here to participate. Oh. Unfortunately, there won't be the chance until the pandemic stupidity continuing as is. Well, it's odd because there's lots of, like, concerts have opened back up. I'm seeing comedy nights again, right? So there is, like, stuff's coming back. It's just, like, the open mic nights aren't. So I don't know what the rules are on this. So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't last much longer. Swarikin, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I had a really wonderful day today. I had a really, really wonderful day today. I walked down to my local library first thing this morning, picked up a book recommended by someone, one of my Patreons, Humankind. It's a more positive view on humanity and what's happening with humanity, and I'm going through it. Well argued. The position is interesting. Certainly pointing out that humanity has advanced and become more peaceful over time. I, of course, have my own counterpoints, but I want to finish the book before I really dive into that. Did you check your Patreon last night? I did. Yes, I had many new Patreons, many new surprises coming in. Very, very pleased with how things have gone all of the sudden. It seems to be at the end of a long, dark walk, a little light at the end of the tunnel. It was actually quite beautiful, quite nice. And and then after I came home, did the quick daily video. A friend contacted me, said, "Hey, I'm in the neighborhood. Do you want to hang out?" And so I was able to hang out with a nice friend, a good friend of mine who had a nice afternoon with her, and then basically sat down, went through the news, and hit the light, and here we go. So what a great day today. Today was a really good day for me. Really, really nice. And I don't know, I feel so supported. I feel like I went through like a real dark patch, and I feel like everybody was so supportive and so lovely, and got some new Patreons, some new people who want to be participating, want to be part of the conversation and the exchange. So what a strange and unusual but strangely uplifting time. So, with all of that said, let's say farewell to the Mario Marxist Bros. I found this picture. I thought I should share it. And let's pick the number, right? We know the shtick. You got to pick it. And for you, Moist Watermelon, if you want to get involved in this, you got to pick a number between 1 and 10.
Here we go for today's number.
Ooh, pretty dark.
It's November 23, 2021. 10 balls. Each ball has a number.
Each ball has a number. Hey, Mock, how you doing, bud?
Numbers 1 through 10.
What am I feeling? I'm feeling like a 3. I'm going with a 3 today.
Swirl the numbers.
I've hit it the last 2 times. Let's see if I can continue. If we got a 7, then that's a
Pick
twofer.
a number.
Pick a number. Ruth with the 10. Moist Watermelon in for the 6. Oh, will it? First guess for
Today's
lucky beginner.
Number is
1.
1.
Just on the opposite side of it, Ruth. Just on the opposite side of it. Womp, 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 womp. Well, what can you do? You can't win them all, right? You can't win them all. Eventually, we'll have so many people in the chat doing this that it'll be impossible to miss. And then someone will always get the Lynchian energy. Although you watch David Lynch, he'll find a way. He'll find a way to thread that needle. Right? So, better luck next time to all parties. But off and away we go. This is, I think, the first most important piece of news that I found for the day, right? Like, finally they're admitting outright in a headline, no less. Investors are making up 25% of the housing market. They use the word investors to really soften the blow. This is speculation. This is gambling. This is an outright admission, right? By finally any newspaper out there saying, hey, 25% of the market is being excluded from the people who actually need to use it and is being used as speculative buying, which is driving home prices upwards, right? That this is exactly the same outcome as if we eliminated 25% of the housing, right? We don't need to build more housing. We don't need to build affordable housing. We don't need any of that. That is bullshit propaganda coming out of the political base because they don't want to confront capital. They don't want to turn to the capitalists and say, hey, you can't do this. Like, you can't do this activity. It's unacceptable that you are turning our housing market into a casino, right? The more you think about how absurd this is, or the more you think about it, the more absurd it becomes, right? Why is our housing treated with a market-based system in the first place? It seems outrageous to me that people need houses to live in. I actually have a friend who, she is the manager of a restaurant, right? A bar. She's a manager of a bar, okay? Here in Toronto. She lives an hour and a half away from the bar. You ask her, like, hey, how come you don't move closer? And she's straight out like, the rents are too high. The rents are too high. I can't move into the area, right? So she's literally commuting between 2 to 3 hours daily in order to do this management job. And of course, like, hey, driving a car every day that often, right? That's a pollutant. That's an increased thing. And something's got to give here. Something's got to give. It's ridiculous that the rents are this high. And why are the rents this high? Because 25% of the housing has been taken out of the market. Right? It becomes basic supply and demand at that point. So 5 years ago, when Tahima Safdar's husband was offered a position as a medical researcher in Toronto, she dreamed of putting down roots for her children in the city. We were kind of nervous and a little excited, said the 43 mother of three. A lot of people were telling us, go to Toronto, it's a nice place. But those dreams have slowly faded. Since moving from Edmonton, they've been renters and the family has had to move 3 times. They currently rent a home in Oshawa. And for God's sakes, this is a medical researcher. Safdar say they continue to accumulate their savings upon arriving in the city, but watched as prices soared. Within a few years, they realized owning real estate in the Greater Toronto area was increasingly out of reach for them. They're now looking at the possibility of leaving altogether. Whenever we get money enough for buying a house, the price jumps again, and then jumps again. We're trying to chase our dream. Safdar's story is not unique, and it's becoming the growing reality, not just for families moving to Toronto from other cities, but for first-time buyers who've lived their entire lives in the city. According to the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, the average selling price for all homes combined rose by 19.3% year over year to $1,100,553,345. As the prices skyrocket, recent data suggests more people who own more than one property in Ontario make up more than 25% of buyers in the province. It's a stark contrast to just 10 years ago when investors made up the smallest percentage of residential real estate transactions. According to the data, they now make up the largest segment. And experts say not only is that driving up prices, it's making it increasingly difficult for those trying to get into the market to compete in bidding wars. Those experts are sounding the alarm not just on the potential future of economic implications, but also what this trend could mean for the makeup of big cities like Toronto. It's a reality Jermaine L. Murray knows well. The 31-year-old isn't looking for a property for himself, but rather for his mother, who is close to retirement and is responsible for taking care of his sister with special needs. He says she has had to sell her home because of a divorce a few years ago, and whatever money she received isn't nearly enough for a down payment on another home. The way the market has been going has totally outpaced the amount of savings that they've been able to have, said Murray. So it's not even a matter of if she's able to afford a house. She just straight up can't. Murray, who has lived in Toronto his whole life, works 2 jobs, one as a technical recruiter and one as a career coach. But even with his dual incomes, he says it's been a struggle. I'm trying to plan to get my foot in the market, and it's like every time I try to take a step, I fall back 10 behind, said Murray. It's ruthless. It's heartbreaking. I lose sleep. Murray says a lot of his peers have been forced to work more than one job to make more than 6 figures every year. But even then, he says, many haven't been able to enter the market. Part of the frustration, competing with bidders with deeper pockets, many of whom can tap into equity from properties they already own. Recent data published by TerraNet in its quarterly market insight report shows that multi-property owners made up more than 25% of real estate transactions between January and August of 2021. It's unusual in the sense that investors now make up the biggest segment of buyers in Ontario. So they surpass first-time buyers, they surpass the number of people moving, so they're the biggest segment, says John Pasalis, president of Realisophy Realty. Pasalis said the trend isn't surprising, given how fast the market has accelerated, but he says what's concerning is investors can make the ups and down of the market more severe. The risk is that when prices are rising, investors are the optimists in the market, and they actually push home prices up higher than they otherwise should be, he said. But when the market cools, the investors actually become the pessimists, and they're the first ones to exit the market, which accelerates potentially a downward trend and makes our whole housing market far more vulnerable than it otherwise would be. While some argue more supply is needed to cool the market, Pasalis points to other cities like Phoenix, Arizona, and Las Vegas, Nevada, which have room for more supply, but saw huge real estate bubbles. More supply, he says, could just attract more investors. When investors are the biggest segment of your buyer base, no amount of supply is enough, said Pasalis. The trend is also concerning to Ron Butler, one of the founders of Butler Mortgage. He says he's watched as investors outbid many of his clients who are first-time buyers. We've seen our clients forced to the upper limit of their affordability, but that's the only option they have, is to be at the highest point that they could possibly achieve from a borrowing point of view, said Butler. I think we're approaching moments of literal despair among some families looking to purchase homes in Ontario. Butler says he'd like to see intervention to stem the behavior of investors from all 3 levels of government before it's too late. That's not going to have a great ending, in my opinion. It's just not, said Butler. It's either going to result in a generational shift of people leaving the province, or it's going to result in eventually some kind of price deterioration that's going to catch a lot of people offside. As for Safdar, the family has decided that if they're forced to move again, they'll leave the city. For good this time. For her, it's about more than just the numbers. It's about trying to find a community they can call home and creating some stability for their kids. It's not only about buying a house, it's a lot of emotion. And this article is, first of all, I'm really glad that this is getting into the narrative. This idea that we can't simply build more housing. It's not even a matter if she's able to afford. No. What's the quote? Come on. It was perfect. Yes. More supply, he says, could just attract more investors. When investors are the biggest segment of your buyer base, no amount of supply is enough. Stop letting politicians say we'll build more housing. Shut that up. It's over. Shut up about it. You can build as much as you want. They'll just buy it. You understand? And this idea that it's going to, prices, they'll just collapse back down and people, the investors will exit. No, they won't. And this article doesn't even touch on the realities of what this is doing to the rental market. That what these investors are doing is they're buying up these properties and they're driving rents through the roof, right? And they're making it far more difficult for renters to actually live in the city. Rents are going out of control. Wages are in decline, right? And the wage that they're paying isn't actually covering the rent that they're asking for. Like, we need rent control in this city. We need rent control in this city, and these investors need to be chased out of the market completely. If you ask me, there shouldn't be a housing market. That idea is antiquated and a failed ideology that isn't actually based in reality, right? Houses should be for people to live in. And the reality is that this market is not going to cool down ever, because the people who are the quote-unquote investors are a billionaire class. They're not buying up these properties to sit on them, wait for the market to go up and turn around and sell them. They're buying the property to put their money in and sit on it because they have nothing else to buy. They have billions of dollars. They don't know where to put their money. They don't know what to buy because they've bought everything that can be bought. They've bought all the cars and the planes and the trucks and the politicians and the yachts and the businesses, and now they're just buying up the land. You understand? Now they're just buying up the land. And it doesn't matter to them if there's fluctuations in the market or if it starts to decline or anything. They're just going to have the land because that's money. They don't care. Right? We've got to do something about this, and it needs to be directly done. But our political class is completely constipated, completely calcified, because they refuse to confront capital. They refuse to look at these capitalists, this fucking psychopathic capitalist death cult, and say, "Excuse me, Mr. Capitalist, can we maybe have some of these properties that you're sitting on so that people can live and not starve to death in the streets?" Like, why are we simping for these fuckers? Why are we paying any fucking attention to what these guys think about literally anything? Houses should be for living in. And what we are doing is we are chasing good people, hard workers, and not like baristas, not like your low level kind of, I'm just a grind on, like literally your specialists, medical researchers, right? Doctors, lawyers, engineers, people who need to live in Toronto to actually do things, and they're going to leave, and they're gonna go somewhere else, right? But this problem is gonna follow them, right? This problem is only going to get worse, just like all of the other crises that are happening in Canada and across the United States today. This is just the beginning. And if we don't confront capital, it will get worse. We know it will get worse. It's just a fact that it will get worse. And I'm blown away that they are even beginning to actually report on this in headlines. They've reported on it in like the bottom of like a 10-page thing where they're like, "Oh, why is the housing market going out of control? Well, immigration first. Let's talk all about immigration first, of course." And then point, and then like one line, paragraph 34, page 10. "Oh, by the way, 25% of the market is owned by investors." What do you fucking think is happening? What do you think is happening? Like, It's Monopoly. Play one game of Monopoly. Play one game of Monopoly and you'll know exactly what's happening. You'll know exactly what's happening. Except once they own all the properties, the board doesn't fold up. The game doesn't stop. Right? The people who are chased out of the market, where do you think they go? Like, if there is an issue here in Canada that shines a light on how psychopathic our country has become, it's this one. We are literally chasing people into the streets, into homelessness, not allowing people to pay for rent, to buy housing, to do any of this kind of stuff. Why? So that some billionaire can put his money somewhere. Yeah, I just got too much money, so I'm just going to buy up these houses. Yeah, it's fine. I don't even know if I care to rent them out. It seems like a pain. Like, when I talk about the mass hysteria that we are undergoing as a people, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is a hysteria. It's time to snap out of it. It's time to snap out of it. Right? The old adage, the old way of saying that would be like, wake up. But it's not about that. It's literally just snap out of your trance. Like, we're in a hysteria. We're in a trance. It's like, I should have a bell. I should have a bell that I ring and just go ding, 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 ding. The spell is broken. It's time to snap out of the trance. It's time to realize that this system is a failure. It doesn't work. It never worked. It wasn't designed to work because it's not an economic system. It's a religious ideology. Right? Neoliberal capitalism is a religious ideology exclusively. It has no credibility. People should be able to just live in houses. I don't understand why that's at all considered controversial. Like, we should have rent control. People should be able to have access to homes. Like, this isn't even an ask. It's weird that we're even talking about it. It's extremely odd and extremely unusual that this is even considered a talking point. Like, when did it become an extreme leftist position that people should have access to food and shelter? When did it become something that only the communists were willing to stand up and say, yeah, people should have food and shelter. Fuck these capitalists. Who gives a shit about them? Why are we bothering? Like, what's with this stupid game we're playing anyway? We should clear the Monopoly board, fold it up, put it in the box, and say, well, that was a fun, stupid game of ridiculousness. Let's play something else. Right? How many games of Monopoly would you actually play? If I told you literally you've got to play the game of Monopoly every single day, you would tell me to fuck off. But that's what we do. That's what we do. That's what we're doing. We're literally playing the game of Monopoly as our lives. It's like one of the worst board games ever made. It was a board game that was never made for fun. It was made as a critique. It was originally called like Landlords and Tenants. And then the capitalists took it, rebranded it, and sold it to us as if it was a game to be played for fun. When it was exclusively and explicitly created as a critique of the capitalist system and was designed explicitly to not be fun. Well, if you've made it to this point, like, share, subscribe. I got a Patreon down below. Maybe donate $1, right? Gotta be supporting leftist voices before we get thrown on the fucking streets. Good luck. We're gonna need it. Yeah, I think that plays. That was a pretty good clip. Might use that one. I hope you guys are doing really well out there. What are you guys saying? Nova Scotia, good to see you, Nova Scotia. Today, Prince Haircut says he's gonna do something about affordable housing. Sure he is. Yeah, sure he is. He's gonna build like 1,000 houses out in Hoboken, who gives a shit town. It'll immediately be bought up by billionaires, and he'll point at it and say, "Ah, wow, look, we did a thing." And the gullible Kens and Karens will be like, "Yeah, he did a thing. Yeah, we went and spoke to the manager, and the manager did a thing. Yeah." Like, that's exactly what's gonna happen. real estate agents are so corrupted that they refuse to sell and buy themselves instead when the offer is low. Well, I mean, and they're completely incentivized to just participate in this madness, right? And a billionaire can always outbid, right? Like if you're just like a regular dude, if you're just like a regular Joe Schmo Kokomo, you will not be able to compete in the market, right? And if you're the real estate agent, you have all the incentive in the world to ensure that this is the case, right? Because the system is not structured to provide housing. The system is structured to reward profit, right? It's the profit motive again, right? Just worship the money, follow the money, get the most money, and that should organize the society rationally, right? No. The religious ideology of money worship has not manifested into a rational organization of the society. It's obvious. It's very clear, and we need to snap out of it. We need to realize that we aren't on firm ground, right? We haven't planted our feet in reality. We're worshiping something we invented in the first place, which is money, right? We're worshiping something that is literally non-existent. It's intangible. It doesn't exist, and we worship it. It's the profit motive is the tacit admission that we should worship something that doesn't exist. I can't imagine why the system's failing. Like, and it doesn't matter if you're a good person, because if you're in a system of this religious ideology where you're worshiping something that doesn't exist, it's going to have negative effects. And what's a negative effect? Oh, no one can have housing. Like, where is the article about what massive negative impact this is having on renters? This is having an enormously negative impact on renters. People who are forced into the rental market are experiencing spikes in rent. Rent is going through the fucking roof. Rent control. We need rent control now, and these investors need to go. Like, bye-bye. Goodbye. You are out of the market. No, we're not going to give you your money back. Get the fuck out of here. Cry about it. Yeah, none of the parties say they will approve the throne speech. Yeah, NDP will not support government legislation on COVID-19 benefits. I've been seeing that. So this could result in another election. Like, they can absolutely vote down legislation. They can trigger another election, and it really is looking more and more like the Liberals are not going to be willing to work too closely with the Bloc or the Conservatives, because that's political suicide, right? Their own base will abandon them if they begin doing that. The Liberal base seems to tolerate a coalition or a working with the NDP, but the NDP is saying that they're not going to move forward with them under these conditions, because the Liberals want an austerity government. That's what they want. And Singh is saying outright that, no, they're not going to do that. If the NDP take the Liberals to the mat and we go back to another election, I kudos to Singh. Honestly, kudos. I've been talking a lot of shit about Singh recently. And some of it is warranted, I think. But like, this guy should be walking around with a fucking bell going, basic income, like, for real. And he's not, right? Like, I want to see ding, 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 basic income, ding, 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 basic income, ding, 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 basic income, and I'm just not seeing it, right? And we're getting to that point. Like, we're getting to that point where the hysteria is getting so real and so aggressive that, and the solutions are so obvious, and the solutions are directly in front of us, right? And we're just not doing them. Why? Because we're caught. We're caught in this hysterical religious ideology that is going to abandon us. No, of course Singh is highly sus, but you gotta work with the pieces you've got. That's all. You gotta work with the pieces you got. We should build a communist movement outside of the NDP, and we should work to invade the NDP and take it over as socialists and communists, for sure. But in the interim, this is the leader of the party. This is the guy we've got. And it is possible that good things come out of him. We'll see. But like I personally am completely in favor of calling a new election. I'm completely in favor of that. Because like I think that these liberals are frauds. Like and we've seen that pretty clearly in these last few weeks. Like the invasion of Wet'suwet'en land in order to push through a pipeline, literally standing up saying, yeah, we're going to get to net zero by 2050 while increasing production by 30%. Like it's the most fraudulent government maybe in the history of Canada, right? Like literally looking you right in the eye and saying, we are going to look to the future of Canadians, and then turning around and shitting on your face. Like literally shit on your face. It can't be more clear. Like it can't be clearer. The only way it could be more clear is if they literally slapped you in the face. Like literally said something like, we care about you. Slap. We love you. Slap. It's literally all they could do. There's nothing more they can do to prove to you that they don't give a fuck about you and that they're obviously grifters that are lying to you. So I'm a big fan of calling an election, but I worry about our populace and how gullible we are as a people, because we're very gullible. The new Black Panther Party in Georgia looks like an interesting group to keep eyes on. Seems to take a militant approach with capitalist violence. Well, I mean, we are seeing it. Like the Kyle Rittenhouse case has manifested itself exactly in the way that people thought it would, right? This Workers United Against Fascism. Here's a father and daughter duo, right? Walking around open carry, right? Assault rifles ready to go. This guy's got a fucking scope. Like this is a goddamn sniper, right? Like he can pick a guy off from like 100 yards for sure with that weapon, right? And he fucking looks ready to use it. She looks ready to use it. Like this is what is being manifest. Like some white kid shows up, murders 2 people, wounds another, gets set free. Yeah. What do you think was going to happen? Like what did you fucking think was going to happen? And so now if any of these right-wingers show up, and I've been saying this from the goddamn beginning, so you got these guys, and if some right-wingers show up and they're carrying assault rifles, well, it looks like the rules is whoever shoots first can claim self-defense, right? So shoot first. Those are the rules in America, right? Stand your ground, shoot first, claim self-defense. Yeah, another parasitic industry, the real estate mortgage industry. There's no such thing as a non-parasitic industry in capitalism anymore. Like, there's no such thing as a non-parasitic industry. They're all parasites. All of them. They're structurally parasitic. They can't not be. If a company attempted to not be a parasite, the other parasites would kill it. Like, that's how it works now. Take their investments and give anyone without a home. Yeah, it's problem solved. Yeah. Like, and if they cry about it, like, oh, but our money, like, get fucked. Who cares about your stupid money? Go fuck. Give your money to the poor. Shut up. Like, I'm over it. Like, I'm no longer willing to tolerate these people. Like, you have more money than sense, and your money is making you miserable in the first place. Like, what is this game that we're playing here? Like, it seems incredibly silly what we're doing. Like, it seems incredibly silly. Like, it's a failed game. It's a failed experiment. It's a failed society. It's a failure. Show me one success. Show me one aspect of the society that has been successful, right? And you can look over at China to see, like, we're not even operating in a vacuum. We actually have an alternative working model. that we can actually look at and be like, well, why are they succeeding and we're failing? Oh, because they do what the population asks. Oh. According to all parties, it's time to go back to work, especially since the raise. It's just making people lazy. That's why there's work shortages. I mean, that's just delusional bullshit. Like, that's just delusional bullshit. Like, people don't want to go back to work for this abusive, crazed, psychopathic death cult. Like, it's pretty straightforward, right? To blame it on laziness is to capitulate your intellectual credibility. Straight up. Like, you're a dumb moron if you're saying this. Yeah, people don't want to prop up systems that are murdering them. I don't know why this is difficult to understand. It's not difficult to understand that the system is destroying us. It's going to continue acting this way. It's not going to suddenly change its mind. This is a revolt. And they don't want to report on it that way. They don't want to report on the facts, which is that this is a rebellion. This is a revolt. We're not going to sell ourselves to a capitalist death cult for our survival that then turns around and destroys us and the future of our children anyway. Like, it's no longer hyperbolic. Gone, like 10 years ago, if I was talking this way, people would be like, oh, John, so hyperbolic. Oh, it's so overblown. The town of Lytton burnt down. The mudslides in BC wiped out the Trans-Canada Highway, cutting off Vancouver. The wildfires are getting worse. The floods are getting worse. The droughts are getting worse. The earth has spoken. If at this point you are not in full-scale rebellion and revolt against this system, you are worse than the Nazis. You are worse than the Nazis. Because even the Nazis didn't attempt to destroy all human life. It is time to snap out of it. It is time to realize that we are in a mass hysteria. And that there are solutions that are directly in front of us. And it's frustrating that these solutions do not get talked about. Here's a clear example of what I'm talking about. Right? Here's a clear example. Here's Rex fucking Murphy, right? The eye-rollingly cringy old white supremacist we're all supposed to take seriously, right? But in this particular article, he actually raises an interesting point. But he's so detached and excluded from the concept of finding solutions or promoting solutions that he simply doesn't. Here's this article. Rex Murphy, Trudeau and Biden double down on efforts to destroy our economy, right? Destroy the rich people yacht money. Here is perfect symmetry. Trudeau wants to kill the oil and gas industry. No, he doesn't. Obviously not. He's increasing production 30%. Biden wants to kill our auto industry. Simpatico. They are twins. The three amigos, I beg your pardon. Is that an appropriate nomenclature for a conclave of the three finest minds in the statesmanship of our present-day world? That what ugly slur next? The Sombrero Summit? Enough of these careless and undignified representations. Surely a meeting between leaders of the intellectual stamina of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, and particularly that giant of international understanding and competence, a Churchill for our time, U.S. President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., calls for a more dignified, respectful designation than a play on some fifth-rate movie. Shame on the news wires and networks. So much for the press treatment of last week's North American Leaders Summit. For Canadians, the most significant outcome was the thoughtful response. You know what? Fuck you, Biden. Fuck you, dude. Like, fuck this guy. I hate this guy. I honestly fucking hate Rex Murphy, man. Like, shut the fuck up. He's such a fucking windbag. I'm reading it, and I'm just like, what a fucking windbag. This guy is so, like, aggressively, like, boo. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut to the fucking chase with this goddamn idiot. Holy shit. I've never seen somebody who is so stupid be so verbose. Like, he's so verbose. Ugh. But he's so fucking stupid. Well, thank you, Gino. I appreciate it. No, you don't get blocked. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. Sometimes it's literally like, we don't like that comment. And literally the comment is like, hey, I like your hat. It's like, no, you cannot contemplate and compliment his hat. Okay, so what's his primary complaint, right? And for some reason, people take this guy seriously. But imagine, if you will or can, every oil worker in Alberta and every worker associated with the oil industry, every auto worker in Ontario and every worker associated with the auto industry, all corralled into building windmills and solar panels. A Canada of giant whirling blades and acres of glazed glass so perfectly reflective it blinds eagles. Like, it's this hostage taking yet again. It's this absolute just hostage taking. That no, we can't transition into anything. No, we can't move into anything because workers, right? That, oh, well, the workers will lose their jobs and then we'll take all the money and run away and those workers will be impoverished, so we can't stop. It's just hostage taking at this point. We literally could pass a basic income. We could pay people to stay home. We could just pay people to stay home, right? Like, forget about the green transition, forget about any of that kind of stuff. The Liberals aren't serious about it anyway. And besides, once the Conservatives come back in, they'll just destroy whatever the Liberals do. So it's pointless, right? Just like Doug Ford did here by destroying 700 climate change projects, right? That's exactly how we roll. That even if we get the Liberals to capitulate on something and start building something, the Conservatives come in and destroy it. And that's their agreement. That's how they work together. Knowledgeably, with the full force of their foresight. They get into meetings with one another and they say, well, we will begin this, and then once we are out of office and we give it back to you, you will stop it. That's why they don't fucking cry about it. Because they know that's the deal. They know that's how it goes. And at this point, it's so obviously in front of your face that it's embarrassing. Like, there's a reason why they don't talk to us about a basic income. There's a reason why they don't present solutions to these problems. Because if you presented a basic income and said we could do a basic income, suddenly the hostage taking doesn't work anymore. Suddenly this idea that, oh, well, what about the impoverished workers they'll lose all their jobs from this industry dying and all, oh my God, oh, well, there's a basic income, isn't there? They've got the supports. What's the problem? Next problem, right? But if you think that neoliberal economics is real, if you think that it's an actual economic system as opposed to the religious ideology, you can pretend as though that this is a serious thing to say. Like this fucking extremely literate moron says. That, like, come on, Rex. Like, I know that you've, like, read the Thesaurus, but can you maybe read some other literature? Like, go fucking read your Bible, for Christ's sakes. Ugh. Well, it seems no matter who you elect, they're all the same with different colored ties. Yeah, and the BC NDP have absolutely proved that that's the case. Because the system is so corruptible, right? Not only is it currently corrupted, it's incredibly corruptible. Like, it's supposed to be corrupted. Like, it pays to remember that our system was designed as a way to disseminate information from the Queen. That's why it's called a throne speech, right? That, like, the Queen of England would say, I want there to be X in Canada. I want Canada to have a national park, right? And she would say it to the Prime Minister, who would then turn around and say it to his people, and then they would disseminate it through the premiers, and they would do it. That's how it worked. This idea that it was like, well, the people have said this, and so we're going to do the thing that the people said. System was never designed for that. It was always designed as a way for the fucking Queen of England to say, this is what I want, and for us to go, yes, your majesty, and go do it. We didn't have a fucking Charter of Rights and Freedoms until like the late 70s or early 80s. Like... This idea that we're like somehow democratic. Like, the only reason we were holding elections in the first place was so that we would have a familiar face telling us what the Queen said. So that we would go, oh yeah, okay, it's John, right? I know John. Right? John's a good man. I vote for John, right? And when he breaks the bad news to us, I want it to come from a guy I know and I like. And he's going to come over and be like, I got some bad news for you, bud. And that's how it goes. That's the purpose of our system. That's what it's structured to actually achieve. It's not structured to like go listen to people and have people be like, well, you know, I can't actually afford rent or a house. Oh, can you help me? Well, I better get to work on that. That's fuck you. Who cares about that? That's not, the Queen didn't give a shit about that. Like, they don't care. That's not how the system works. Like, so our system of governance is not only corrupted, but it's designed to be corrupted. It's supposed to be corrupted. It requires a powerful, wealthy force to dictate terms to it, which is exactly how it's operating. Right? That's exactly how it's operating. Like this idea that we the people go in and we vote for our guy, and then the guy goes in and does what we want and we like it, and if he doesn't, then we vote him out. Fuck all that. Like, that's childish bullshit. That's a fairy tale that is told by the absolute rubes in the society. Politicians do what rich people say. Period. No further conversation required. YouTube has blocked some of my comments before on here. It's weird. Yeah, and there seems to be no fucking rhyme or reason to it. It just literally is like, today I wore a pair of plaid pants. Do you like plaid, Jonathan? Banned! Well, not banned, but just like, Mrr. I live under the rule of Canadian tyrant Ted Cruz. I'm so sorry to hear that. Is Ted Cruz Canadian? There's no way Ted Cruz is Canadian. Is Ted Cruz Canadian? Is Ted Cruz Canadian? There's no way that he is he? There's no way he's actually Canadian, though. Little Filito from Calgary. That figures. That figures that like a total fucking D-bag like Ted Cruz. Constitutional monarchy. Yep. We've written down a law. Like, it's This is why we absolutely need to take to the streets. Like, we absolutely have to take to the streets. Come to my protest, December 15th, Yonge and Dundas Square, 2 p.m. Right? If you're here in Toronto or near Toronto, Yonge and Dundas Square, 2 p.m., December 15th. We've got to start building a mass movement that takes to the streets and surrounds the halls of power. We have no other options. Right? They're not listening to us. They don't care about us. They don't even care about their own children. Like, they don't even care about their own children. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. Like, I think that part of what is happening is that people do not respect how fucking shitty and terrible it's going to get. They don't respect the overwhelming power of the planet and the universe. Okay? People think, well, we'll just transition. Oh yeah, we'll just transition and we'll create a technological solution. Yeah, humans we'll put an air conditioner in. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take an air conditioner and we're gonna put it in there. And then we can have a solar panel, and the solar panel will have the air conditioner. So yeah, it'll get a little hotter, but we'll have the air conditioner and everything will be completely fine. The heat of the sun is going to roast this place so powerfully that the air itself will not be breathable. We will pass out if there is mercy. The air conditioners will blow up because they will be trying so hard to contend with the overwhelming power of the ceaseless, never-ending sun, and they will explode. Good. I'm glad I'm scaring you. Be scared. I don't get this. Why are we acting like this isn't a fucking crisis? Lytton burnt to the ground. It burnt to the ground so quickly that they couldn't get the fire trucks out of the fire hall. When the sun unleashes the wildfires in our cities, your walls will melt. Your bones will burn. You will turn on water taps, seeking to get cool water, and the water that comes out of the taps will be boiled. This is what is coming, and the Kens and the Karens think they can negotiate with it. I hope you're scared. Be scared. We are not even close to respectful enough of this planet and this universe, and it will turn against us. It will throw us off this plane of existence, and it will forget us, and then return to the garden it wants to be in the first fucking place. I'm done with these Kens and these Karens. I'm done with these assholes walking around pretending like you can negotiate with the fucking sun. No, you can't. Have some fucking respect. Humble yourself. Rebel. Revolt. Repent. And if you're walking around thinking it can't happen to you, fucking look at what happened to Lytton. That's the warning shot across the bow. Stop fucking polluting. Stop. David Suzuki said that we're going to start blowing up infrastructure, even though his own foundation condemned him for it. And as that begins, I'm going to report on those people like they're fucking heroes. The people who are sacrificing their lives as we imprison them for attempting to save the human race from itself in this mass hysteria. I will report on every single one of those people as if they are goddamned heroes. And I will continue to report on these fucking liberals and conservatives and more the NDP as if they are fucking Nazis. We have made an enemy of the sun itself. We cannot win this war. We will lose. Be afraid. Fear the power of the unrelenting, unforgiving universe. Humble yourselves. Repent. We're so goddamn stupid. We're just a bunch of scared little monkeys. We don't know what to do. And we're caught in this hysteria. And it is a hysteria. That should we actually snap out of this, and we will look back on this period of time, and we will say that this was a mass hysteria. That the scared little monkeys stumbled upon a new technology, a new fuel source, a new toy for us to play with. And that toy is oil. And we began interacting with it and playing with it, and we saw that it could give us superpowers. And so we lost our minds about it. Everything became about the superpowers. Look at the things that we have achieved. Look at the superpowers that we have granted ourselves. We can travel vast distances in incredibly short periods of time. We can fly. We can fly. We can open up communicative portals and communicate face to face with one another through vast distances. We can create light. We have superpowers. And in our manic hysteria to plumb the depths of the potential of these superpowers, we have lost sight completely of the fact that there are rules. There are rules to this place. And what's kind of beautiful about it is that if we work within those rules, it appears that there is no limit to our potential, to our evolution, to our growth, so long as we maintain the balance with the rules that exist. That the universe wants to be our partner. It doesn't want to be pushed around and used. It doesn't want to be a tool. It doesn't want to be objectified. It wants to be our peer. It wants to be a partner. It wants to work with us. Why else would there be rules? And we are going to have to go into a period of decline. We're going to have to stop. We have to stop. But when we stop, we should do so with the full awareness and the full knowledge that we can get back here again. That this very brief moment, we've only had oil for 300 years? Very short period of time. And the oil's going to run out. Very short period of time. Like monumentally tiny in the grand scheme of the universe and the human species even. And in this short period of time, we have had a complete and total revolution of what is possible. And as we go into this decline, we should do so knowing that it is possible to get here again and to continue moving forward. That the positive spin on our period of time with oil is that it was the spark of our creative imagination that led us to create wonders beyond comprehension. that even a person 200 years in the past would believe that we are wizards with the capabilities we have today. And in 100, 200 years from now, it will be incomprehensible to us. But not if we keep burning this fucking oil. Not if we keep burning this fucking oil. And what are the things that are polluting? Number one, war. In no more department have we gotten more extravagant. In no department have we gotten more extravagant than in war. We love war. The United States military alone is the number one producer of pollution on the planet. By a wide margin. And no one is even willing to confront it. No one is even willing to force them to be included in any of the talks that we are having. The Paris Accord, the Kyoto Accord, right? This COP26 bullshit. No one is willing to force the United States military into the conversation at all. And we're doing extremely dumb things. Bitcoin requires the same amount of energy consumption as the country of Argentina. Ethereum, which is the backbone of the non-fungible tokens, literally just digital farts and art, requires the same amount of energy consumption as the country of Ireland. Like, that's fundamentally stupid. That is the sign of a mass hysteria. That when the Salem witch trials happened, and people were walking around grabbing young women and accusing them of being witches, and executing them for witchcraft, they were caught up in a hysteria. And after the trials were over, many people wrote about the experience of the hysteria that they had and lamented their actions, saying that they understand now that they were caught in a hysteria. Well, the same thing is happening here. Only instead of us walking around being like, who's a witch? Let's find the witches. Instead of that, it's no less supernatural. We're caught up in this hysteria of what's the next superpower. What's the next superpower, right? We can fly. Look, we've got devices that contain all of human knowledge that you can hold in your hands. I can take a picture of anything I want at any moment. I can record anything I want, and I can send these images and these voices in real time across the planet like that in a moment. And the pursuit is always, what's the next superpower? How can we expand ourselves? We can fly into space, for God's sakes. And nobody at any point is stopping and saying, hey, are these superpowers killing us, do you think? Do you think the narratives of like, oh yes, it's a great and powerful gift, but it also bears a curse? Do you think those narratives come into play? Do you think maybe we should heed those warnings, perhaps? And it just doesn't need to go down like this. Like, it super doesn't. We are going to have to make sacrifices But the sacrifices that we're going to make are not going to be like our lives. We're not going to throw ourselves into a World War II effort against Adolf Hitler like our grandparents did. We're not going to have to sacrifice like any of that. We literally are going to sacrifice our toys. We're going to have slightly less superpowers for a period of time. Like that's really what we're talking about. Like, we're not sacrificing even like our creature comforts. No one's suggesting that we do this, that we turn off the heat. What we're suggesting is that we rein in the superpowers a little bit. That we regulate the superpowers a little bit. Until we're sure that they're not going to literally destroy the planet. We gotta snap out of this. Like, we've gotta snap out of this. This is a mass hysteria. It's not about waking up. It's not about the woke crowd. It's about snapping out of it. It's about seeing basic reason, basic sense, basic survivalism. Like survivalism 101. Don't destroy and pollute your ecosystem. Like fucking literally Captain Planet shit. Basics. Fundamentals. And more than any of that, I think that we can do it. That's the thing that I think is hopeful about all of this. Is that we can do it. We can launch the war effort. We can talk about things in terms of sacrifice. We can talk about things in terms, we can say to the right wing, it's time to mount a war effort, and we need your heroic participation to sacrifice for kin and country. And they will. And they will. Hey Tinker, hey Tom, how you guys doing? Man, I'm getting real pulpity today, man. I'm on a pulpit today. Like Jesus Christ. Like Jesus Christ. Like, stop polluting. I just don't know why this is become at all difficult. Like, certainly there are going to have to be sacrifices, but it's going to be stuff like LOL dolls. Right? Like this is the height of our hysteria, okay? Like, if you guys don't know, what's an LOL doll, you ask? Okay? This is a thing that we are still producing and we are still doing, okay? I used to work in a toy store, so I know all about this shit, right? An LOL doll. It's a little ball of plastic that's wrapped in plastic that you unwrap, right? You throw away that. Then you open up the little ball of plastic, right? And inside of the little ball of plastic is a little plastic doll. That's essentially a Happy Meal toy, right? And as you can see, some people get kind of wacky about it. If we are still producing these things amidst this crisis, we are in a hysteria. There are all kinds of things that we can do, that we can sacrifice, and not even miss it. There are all kinds of things that we can do. Like, the minute you start talking this way, people start talking about like, well, the food supply. And it's like, shut the fuck up. There are LOL dolls. Bitcoin. Like, there are lots of things. We could demilitarize. How about that? It seems those in power would rather have a zombie apocalypse where we lose all power, clean water supply, communications, and so on, before doing a healthy transition away from this BS. I honestly, more and more I think about it, the more I think they just are scared too. I think they're scared too. I just don't think they know what to do. And they've got all this power and they have no idea what they're doing with it. Right? And they just, you know, when you're at this high echelon of power, the worst thing you don't want to do something that's going to be a disaster. Right? So they're just trying to avoid a disaster. But guess what? We're in a disaster. Like, this is a disaster. So, no wrong answers. No wrong answers. If we avoid the sun burning us down, no wrong answers. But they're not there, right? They're not there. They're too comfortable. They're not scared, right? Look, see how quickly they operated when the pandemic started, right? When the pandemic started, you see how fast they put the CERB in? They didn't put the CERB in because they were like, someone needs to look out for the poor little workers. They put the CERB in because they knew it would protect their own skin. They were scared for themselves existentially. That's why they put the CERB in as fast as they did. You see how quickly they can do things? Right? And they did that at the start of the pandemic because they were scared. Well, it's time to make them scared about climate change. Because they're not going to be able to retreat into their gated communities and be protected from the sun. That's not real. And they're not scared of it the way they should be. Have you ordered from literally, it came in a box, yeah, 7 little boxes, yeah. The packaging, just the packaging. We've known about this for years. The packaging is so obtuse and absurd and unnecessary and pointless, right? The whole project of globalization itself is predicated on this idea that we can just pollute endlessly to send bananas wherever. And like the dumb, stupid, like Amazon is predicated on the idea that I can order a pair of scissors and literally have a person in a factory get the scissors, put it in a box, send it down a thing, have another person put it in the back of a truck, drive that truck to my house, put the box in front of my house, ring my doorbell so I can open up and get a fucking pair of scissors. Like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Like, no. Not functioning business model. No. Telling the masses to stop polluting is the equivalent of telling a 20-year-old heroin junkie to stop smoking crack. Yeah, that's another way of articulating the hysteria, right? We have these powers. We have these mystical, magical powers that people from even 50 years ago, right, are like, these are wondrous, what we can do. Like, 200 years ago, people would literally think we're wizards with what we're capable of doing. Right? So, of course we're addicted to it. Power is addicting. Just watch Lord of the Rings. Right? Look at Lord of the Rings. The corrupting influence of the power of the ring. No one was able to resist it. In the end, Frodo Baggins himself is overcome with the power of the ring and unable to throw it in. And the only thing that saved the day was that the ring's greatest distortion, its largest success, in its frantic desire to save the ring, accidentally destroys it. And that's exactly how it's going to go down with capitalism. That the people who fight the hardest against it will still be swayed by its power, but that its greatest adherents will, in their manic rush to save it, will actually be its undoing. It will be too grotesque. It will be too unsightly. We won't even be able to bear to look at it. All I know is I trade my toys to go back and live a normal, not isolated life. Yeah, isn't that the truth these days? Isn't that the truth? Yeah, it's weird though. If I was a billionaire, I'd want to live on a clean earth. Yeah, the billionaire class has lost the ability to have empathy, but also they've lost the ability to have humility. Like, they think they're the top and that there is nothing above them, right? They think that they're the king shit. They don't answer to anyone, and it's completely false. They do answer. They answer to the earth. They answer to the energy that sustains them, that they rely upon. They answer to the forces of nature. But they have no respect for those things. The earth is just a dead thing we can claim. Terry Tate or whatever his face probably put those scissors in that box. Oh yeah. Fucking Terry. Amazon's such a great place to work at for the half hour that I did this. No more boat or four-wheeler. I could deal with that. My partner, not so much. They need to stop making those kind of gas-powered toys, ASAP, pleasure crafts. Yeah, all that shit. Like, all that shit. Are you kidding me? Air travel, right? Like, all of this stuff. Like, we need to chill the fuck out. We need to chill the fuck out. Like, it was great. Like, it's great that we have these superpowers. Like, super good that we're shooting rockets into space and all that kind of fucking shit. We should chill out. Like, for a period of like 2 to 5 years, we should straight out pay people to stay home, right? Allow for fossil fuels to be used for things that are absolutely necessary, like agriculture, until we can transition into cleaner power sources. But this idea that we're like allowing someone like Bill Gates to just gallivant around on private jets, are you fucking kidding me? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what a joke. Like, no. How about no? Like, it's real fucking straightforward, easy shit. Like, there's real obvious straightforward shit that we can just say no to. Like, and no, we don't need to have a fucking debate about it. We can just say no. Right? No, we don't need LOL dolls. No, we don't need these fucking like dollar store garbage. No, we don't need it. I know. We like the garbage. I know. Like, I know. But I'm not willing to trade the survival of the human species for fucking garbage. You understand? Even nice garbage. Even garbage that we like. And like shit like Bitcoin. Like this is how you know we're in a mass hysteria. The existence of Bitcoin. Are you kidding me? Like the equivalent of fucking Pokemon cards. Like just except they fucking pollute just by their very existence. Fuck all this shit. So many garbage products are made that are completely useless. Just watch TV late at night and you'll see a slew of ridiculous projects on infomercials. Yeah, exactly. Right? And I'm to the point now where like when the psychopaths, like when the true like Kevin O'Leary level psychopaths start saying stuff like, you want to punish success, I'm going to say yes. You want to destroy the economy, that's correct. Like, There is nothing worth keeping. You understand? Like, there's nothing worth keeping. It's all destroying us. Yes, I want to destroy the economy. Yes, I want to punish successful polluters and psychopaths. Yes. Oh, then I'll just leave. Good. Go. Farewell. Goodbye. Banishment seems fine. Go ruin some other country. Get the fuck out of here. If you're in the mood, John, could you sing us a happy tune? You got it, bud. You got it. You're right. You're right, DM. And I don't mean to be negative, guys. I really don't. Like, I'm... It's just what's in front of us. Like, it's just what's in front of us. You got it, DM. I don't know that I've got many happy tunes. You know what? You know what? This isn't a happy tune, but it's kind of fun. It's a fun tune. I'll put it that way. Come on. I need to get rid of those pages. What are these pages even for? Where are you? Like, all my songs are like fucking like revolutionary and trying to like tear down the society, or like about suicide and shit. But this song's good because it's about sex. We all love sex. Unless you're asexual and then you don't like sex, and that's fine. I love you just how you are. Okay. Hold on. I got a secret to tell to you. Nobody knows, I don't know what to do. I got a feeling deep down in my soul. Don't tell anyone, nobody should know. And I wanna be super slutty. I wanna be super slutty. Stand up straight with those shoulders back. Harden that heart, get ready for an attack. Softness is for pussies, empathy's a crime. Keep chasing the money, give God none of your time. But I wanna be super slutty. And I wanna be super slutty. Keep us tired, wear out our bones. Plunge the needle deep, don't leave us alone. Kings give up empires for one night of bliss. Why on God's green earth do we put up with this? And I wanna be super slutty. Why can't I be? Please let me be super slutty. I like that song a lot. I know one Canadian band called like Canadians People Worker Party or something. Not happy though. Yeah. It's I'm not surprised to see that there's lots of music coming out these days that's kind of grungy. This isn't a happy tune, but I don't know. I like this song. I like this song a lot. So, yeah. Shoot a rich man into space. Gotta get ahead of the human race, and we're the lazy ones working at the end of your nukes and your guns, and we don't even care. Bring on the doom. Line up this apocalypse. We'll be going soon. wander forever in the burning sun, and 10 times worse the fate for us. Forget him, worship the dust, but we don't even care. Bring on the doom, line up this apocalypse, we'll be going soon. Baptize us with rising tides, and never let us see what hides inside, and cover our sins with dollar signs. The fire will burn away our pride, and we don't even care. Bring on the doom, light up this apocalypse, we'll be going soon. You could have done anything at all. You could have done anything at all. You could have done anything at all, and you chose this. Oh, we don't even care. Bring on the doom. Light up this apocalypse, we'll be going soon. We don't even care. Bring on the doom. Light up this apocalypse, we'll be going soon. Yeah, we'll be going soon. Fuck yeah. This song kicks ass. I got a lot of songs that kick ass, and this is one of them. And if you don't think that song kicks ass, then you're dumb. You're dumb, and I don't like you. Well, maybe I like you, I don't know. But your taste in music is suspect. And let's play the nice one. You guys know the nice one that I got. Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you, Gina. Look at a person of grace and style, high taste. You can purchase that song at Bandcamp. It's in the description. Or if you become a $5 level Patreon, I can give you my entire anthology. Like, share, subscribe. Give me money! So here's the nice song. You guys know the song. Well, many of you do. If you're a first timer, this is my real hope piece. This one, it's called it's very simply called Antarctica. Got asked a question by my niece who's 5 years old. What's the world gonna be like when I'm grown? I looked up to the crimson smoke-filled sky. I thought, what's the harm in telling one more lie? I said everybody's safe, no one's living in the streets. You never need to worry if you're gonna get to eat. And Antarctica is covered in ice, and everybody's happy, and wouldn't that be nice? The burning sun won't leave a paper trail. Why work so hard if it's too big to fail? And what's the point of feeding this machine if it won't make the world in our dreams where everybody's safe, no one's living in the streets? You never need to worry if you're gonna get to eat. And Antarctica is covered in ice, and everybody's happy, and wouldn't that be nice? And I know one day my maker I will meet. When death's sweet kiss comes and sweeps me off my feet, I hope by then we've learned a little more. I'd like this place to be better than before, where everybody's safe, no one's living in the streets. You never need to worry if you're gonna get to eat. And Antarctica is covered in ice, and everybody's happy, and wouldn't that be nice? When everybody's safe, no one's living in the streets. You never need to worry if you're gonna get to eat. And Antarctica is covered in ice, and everybody's happy, and wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Antarctica is covered in ice, and everybody's happy, and wouldn't that be nice? And I know that we can do it. I know that we can do it. Because the solution to the problem could not be more straightforward. This place was a garden before we even got here. It created us. It wants to be a garden. It wants to create and sustain us. That's what it wants. We don't need to do things. We don't need to work to fix the problem. We don't need to create a solution. The earth is powerful enough to heal itself. And if we want to be here to witness the miraculous power of the earth healing itself, then all we have to do is stop. Oh, well, isn't that a pleasure, Amanda? That's the first time hearing that for you? Wonderful. I'm so happy. Because this song is a gift. This song is a gift that was given to me. And I'm so happy that today was a day where you heard it for the first time and I gave that gift to you. Ah, that's so wonderful. That's so lovely. I gotta play this one more often. I used to play it every single day, and then it kind of went on the back burner as something else took my imagination. I haven't been writing music recently. I've been writing poetry recently. And my most recent one is pretty dark. pretty dark. Kind of shit that I think would give somebody some shivers. Yeah, I don't need to go into that tonight. I don't think I need to go into that tonight. I think I've touched on it, more or less. Penguins need communism to liberate them from the hellish conditions nature imposed on them. I don't know. Penguins seem to be doing okay, honestly. They've all got each other. I forgot to ask, what's the $20 level get? I haven't gotten an email yet. So, because this is all new to me, Zorican, first of all, maybe I missed your Patreon. I'll go in and take a look. The $1 level gets you into the Discord. The $5 level gives you my music and all future music. And then the $10 level hits you at, pegs you at any other projects I have. And I do have other projects like poetry. I wrote a script. This is kind of odd to tell people about, but I'm really quite proud of it. I wrote a script that is a Jafar, yes, the character from Disney's Aladdin. It's a Jafar redemption arc, and I'm very proud of it because it redeems the character without revising the character. It's a non-revisionist redemption arc that, because Jafar is a genie at the beginning of the story, right? That's his thing. He wishes to become a genie, and so he goes into the lamp, and he's a genie now. And because of that, the story has enormous spiritual commentary, enormous scope and scale, and through the process of existing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, Jafar learns and steadily changes and repents and finds a way to become a better individual and then ultimately attain divine enlightenment. So at the $10 level, I'll send you that. The $20 level, I don't know, dude. We got to talk about it. Like, do you want to come on the show, I guess? I don't know. But those are the tiers that I've set up for myself. I swear I'm not stingy. I bought 2 random people pizza delivery over the internet. I'm just broke. Don't worry about it, dude. Don't worry about it. Ignore the Dobrik thing. Okay, I will. David Rovix is who I was thinking of. I still don't know who that is. David Rovix. And anyway, guys, this is a long-form way of me saying, give me money. Give me money. Everybody give me money. In all seriousness, though, like, think about donating even $1, right? Even $1. It'll get you into the Discord, where we are organizing the revolution. And also, like, $1 helps, right? Even $1 helps. Have you seen the communist flag of Antarctica? I have not. The communist flag of Antarctica. This better have some fucking penguins on it, dude. Is this it? That's nice. That's a nice flag, dude. That's a really, really nice flag, man. I really like that. Wow. I actually really, really love that. I gotta get a print of this. That's really nice. What a beautiful, like, the map of Antarctica itself. The star with the lights shining out. I love the red against the blue, right? And then of course the hammer and sickle. Ah, wow. Thank you for showing me that. This is a real treasure. This is a real treasure. What level gets you an LOL doll? Fuck you, Tom. That's fuck you. That's the level. You ought to go, Tom. Only if it's an LOL doll that looks exactly like me. Communist penguins, yeah. Ugh. All right, I feel like we've shaken off the big negativity. You know what? And this always happens to me. This always happens to me where when I hang out with friends and they talk to me about what I'm doing, and they're so supportive of me and they believe in what I'm doing, and it really reminds me, like, what this is about, you know? Like, I'm not doing this to, like, save my own skin. Like, I don't... you know, when my time on this earth is over, I'm going to be like, all right, cool, kick off. It's because, like, my friends and my family
need someone to fight for them, right? They can't fight. They can't fight. They need someone to fight for them. And so that's what I'm going to do. Because they all deserve better than what they're getting. All of them. To an individual, without exception. Right? The doctors and lawyers and engineers who are my friends, they deserve those houses. They've worked hard for them. They were promised them. They worked their life away. They sacrificed a lot in order to get it. And the injustices that they have had to face. The robbery of their base existence in order to get it. And now that's being taken too. It's unacceptable. It's intolerable. And then the middle class friends that I have, right? The managers and the bartenders, right? The people who know that they've been renting and they're fine with that. Well, their rent's too goddamn high. Way too fucking high. They're starting to have to make decisions like leaving their friends and families to go get rent somewhere else that's cheaper. And that's not going to last. They deserve better too. And then to my friends who are living in poverty. My friends who are living in poverty, they shouldn't. They're good people, every single one of them. They're kind and they're generous. They're thoughtful and artistic and creative. And they deserve the chance to show the world what they can contribute. That it's easy to dismiss them because they've sacrificed their artistic creativity for lattes, for stupid toys. That the art they should be producing is being wasted in cups of coffee. And then to my disabled friends, to my friends who are living in the most vulnerable positions in the society, these people deserve absolutely better than what we're providing. Absolutely better than what we're providing. We give less to the disabled than the Americans do. That's how disgraceful we've become. I don't know why I kicked that one off, but I just don't think we should go down without a fight. And we're going down. Mocked, I'm looking forward to this, dude. Your shit's always the best. Fun fact, most people in gulags were there for common crimes. Collaborating with Nazis, theft, murder. Executions were uncommon. You could have vacation, got paid for your labor, and could leave gulag early for good behavior. Yeah. All that's true. And then even on top of that, people really like to hit Stalin for the, he put political prisoners in there. He arrested a bunch of political prisoners. And he took his political people and he arrested them and sent them out. Well, okay. So like when? When did that happen? Oh, was it when he uncovered a mass conspiracy within the Communist Party to assassinate high-level officials, which they did? Is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about that time when a high-level communist official got assassinated? There was a conspiracy resulting in a series of trials. Are you talking about those guys? Like, the anti-Soviet propaganda is unbelievable. Like, it's unbelievable how... And it all comes down to just sloganeering, right? The propaganda that's gone, like, Stalin arrested people and put them in gulags. And it's like, yeah, like Nazi collaborators and literal assassins. Like, you would too. Don't fucking pretend like you wouldn't. I think the funniest observation that I've made about Stalin and Trotsky. So if you guys don't know, Trotsky was part of the revolution, right? So Stalin, Trotsky, and Lenin are like key figures in the revolution, in the Russian Revolution. Trotsky was the leader of the military, of the Bolshevik military during this time. And he believed himself to be Lenin's successor, right? And Lenin and Stalin were obviously on this trajectory. Like, they were obviously on this trajectory. Everybody knew it. Lenin knew it. Everybody knew it, right? And so the Communist Party itself comes together and elects its newest leader, and it came down to Trotsky versus Stalin, and Stalin wins, okay? And the Trotskyists get really pissed off about this, and they disparage Stalin, and they're like, oh, it's a bureaucratic dictatorship, and it's so shitty, and he just strong-armed people, and he just... But he operated within the rule set of the Communist Party, and I don't know how to talk to the Trotskyists about this, and I certainly don't know how to, like, convince them that the reason why I feel like this is fine is because I've watched a lot of Survivor. I've watched a lot of Survivor. I've watched, like, almost every season of Survivor, many of them more than once. And, like, clearly what happened between Trotsky and Stalin was a political power struggle that Stalin won. And I've watched so much Survivor that I'm just like, yeah, like, that's a political power struggle that someone wins. And every single time they win, it's valid. Right? And boy, do the Trotskyists not like that. Anyway, I just thought that was a funny thing that I realized. Like, that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like totally okay with what happened there with Stalin because of my experience with Survivor. All right. Yeah, it's just funny coming from a country with like 1/4 the world's prison population. Exactly. Like, I say this all the time to fucking Americans. I'm like, shut up. Like, if the Soviet Union had the level of prison population that America currently does, you'd never shut up about it. You'd never stop talking about it. But like, oh yeah, America, we can just like have 1/4 of the world's prison population, and like that's completely fine. Hey Rob, how you doing, bud? In 2009 in USA, fully 1% of all adult Americans were living in jail of some sort. Yeah, Stalin never even fantasized about jailing that many people. Exactly, man. Exactly. And it's always this case, man. And people should challenge me on this. Challenge me on this. Like, every single time somebody like tries to disparage Stalin, tries to go after him, and tries to like shit on him, the situation ends up being way more complex than they're letting on. And while Stalin makes mistakes, certainly, right? And I mean, what, you expect him not to? He's literally like, the Soviet Union was the first attempt for any nation to actually create a society based on Marxist principles. Yeah, they're going to make some mistakes. Like, it's like you're watching a toddler stand up and you're expecting them not to fall over. Like, yeah, obviously they're going to do that. And I love the Chinese commentary on Stalin. Deng and Mao were both like, yeah, Stalin, he was like 30% mistakes, 70% good. So like 30-70 split, which I'm like, pretty good. But like, there's no indication that his decisions were made flippantly, and there's always like a pretty decent rationale for everything that he made. Like, he's not a fucking god. Like, he can't do that kind of stuff. Yeah, and most of the people in the gulags, scary word for prison, exactly, were just regular old criminals, yeah? And at the height of World War II, death rate in gulags wasn't even close to that of what it was under the Tsar, yeah? And they went and sanctified the Tsar, or made him a saint, I don't know the word, yeah. Like, it's like, the victims of the communists are always like literal Nazis, monarchs, Tsarists, or just straight up capitalists, you know? Like the people go after the kulaks, right? Or people point out the kulaks. Peterson did this. Peterson was like, the Soviets went and destroyed the kulaks who are peasants and all. And then you dig in and you actually do some investigation on who the kulaks were. The kulaks were like the worst fucking psychopathic capitalists you'd ever find. They were slavers. When the time came for them to collectivize, they literally burnt down their own crops and massacred their own cattle instead of participating in the project of collectivization. Like, The mistake that Stalin made in regards to the kulaks is he didn't realize how psychotic they would be. Like, who could guess that they would burn down their own crops instead of participate in the society? Like, Jesus. Like, this is what creates the famine that everybody says, the Soviets created a famine. Like, yeah, the capitalists within the Soviet society during the transition, instead of joining the society and collectivizing, literally burnt down their own crops and murdered their own cattle. Like, yeah, they should go to jail, and they did. Right? Frankly, if you ask me, Stalin was kind to them. He should have done way worse to them. I would have. Like, he was real nice to those kulaks. I don't know why he was so nice to them. And yes, I'm saying that with the full understanding that he, like, executed many of them and imprisoned a lot of them. Like, he should have arrested and killed more of them. Like, that's how brutal they were. I don't know why we're supposed to, like, treat capitalists nicely when they fucking create famines and burn down crops and murder fucking cattle for fucking nothing. Ugh. Peterson. What a guy. What a character. Yeah, Canadians increasingly impatient with climate change deniers. What's the percentages exactly? I could have probably worded that better. Now I sound like a genocide denier. Do you sound like a genocide denier? Most people in the gulags were there. Executions. I don't think so, Mocked. I don't think so. Right? Like, what's the genocide that you're denying? Like the Holodomor or Holodomor? I can never fucking pronounce this correctly. I've only ever seen it. Holodomor. Holodomor. The Holodomor. The Holodomor. The Holodomor. Right? Like, let me be as clear as I possibly can be. Only 5 nations have acknowledged that the Holodomor, Holodomor. Holodomor. Okay, I got it. Holodomor. Holographic Mordor. That's pretty funny, dude. So only 5 nations actually acknowledge that that this was a genocide, right? So the Holodomor, like, and one of them is Ukraine itself, and then another is Austria. Canada has acknowledged it, right? The United States has not, right? So one of the primary enemies of the Soviet Union has not acknowledged that this is a genocide, because a lot of the evidence of it comes from literal Nazis, right? Like there's a lot of there's a lot of suspicious shit about it, right? And the reason why Canada acknowledged it was because Pierre Elliott Trudeau wanted to shore up the Ukrainian vote. That there was a bunch of Ukrainian fascists that came over during that period of time, and to shore their vote up and get support so that he could be the prime minister, he acknowledged that it happened. But like when you actually dig into it, you see that there were like a billion factors. Like there's a million trillion factors, and there's literally no evidence like certainly there was a famine. Like no one denies this. There certainly was a famine. But what were the causes of that famine? Was it intentionally done? There's literally no evidence to suggest that it was intentionally done. The Holodomor wasn't a genocide. I'm saying the tone I used made it sound like I was genocide. I don't think so, Mocked. I don't think so. Certainly not in this group. Certainly not in this group. I think you're cool. Do you know Norman Finkelstein? Norman Finkelstein's a fucking genius. Like, and a brave man. A brave man. Yeah, his mother was a death camp survivor. She literally wouldn't hear a word against Stalin for the rest of her life. Yeah. Like, And Norman Finkelstein, man, like one major thing that he really convinced me of is that if you want to talk about Israel and what's happening in Israel, you've got to say Zionists. Like, you've got to be very, very fucking clear, right? Because they will just anti-Semitic you. They'll just anti-Semitic you and just layer that on you. And you got to be like, no, there is a distinction between the Zionists and the Jews and Israel, right? That you've got Judaism, Zionism, Israel. That these are distinct things, and you've got to critique along those lines. And if you don't critique along those lines, if you blend them together, right, you can fall into some really shitty territory really, really fucking fast. Now, even liberal historians are recognizing so-called Holodomor as not a man-made famine. Well, one thing that's really interesting about this moment in time right now is that Putin opened up the Soviet archives, right? I don't know why, I'm not sure why he did that. And Putin's an interesting figure, dude. Like, sometimes Putin does stuff, and I really do think that he's like, no, the people should know. Like, everybody has this sort of idea that Putin's like this strong-arm, hard-ass, like, ruling by force and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't know. Like, sometimes he does stuff that I think he's like, no, a good statesman would allow people access to their history, right? And so he's opened the Soviet archives during the Stalinist period. And he's, and when I say opened, I mean literally, like, anyone can go to the Soviet archives and look at all of the documents, like all of the information, the behind-the-scenes conversations, all of it. And people are, right? There's one fellow who I've been listening to, Kopkin. He's a straight-up capitalist. Like, he thinks capitalism is the greatest, right? Like, he's an old, like, Cold War capitalist. But he's using all of the documentation, and his interpretation of the documentation is actually very accurate. It's just that he's a capitalist, right? So he's on the side of the capitalists, and he's not really that interested in understanding that capitalism is a failed system that doesn't work, and that the Soviets, with their communist experiment, were trying to overthrow this failed system that fails, right? And so he'll come to these moments where his interpretation of the events is exactly accurate. But then he's like, and it was bad because capitalists suffered. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you fucking talking about? It was bad because capitalists suffered? Fuck you. It sounds good to me, dude. It sounds good to me. Fuck these capitalists. Yeah, and it wasn't limited to Ukraine, and the opening of the Soviet archives shows very clearly that Stalin sent grain, right? He responded to the famine as it happened, right? Like, it's like, and again, no one is denying that the famine happened, right? But to try and pin it on the Soviets, again, it's the same thing that's happening with the Uyghur conversation, right? That they're trying to convince us that there's a genocide going on with no evidence of it being planned, right? Like, you can't do a genocide on this scale without planning it, right? How do you commit a genocide of like 3 million people, right, without planning it? Just like in the Uyghur case in China, we've got no documentation whatsoever. We've got no documentation whatsoever that it's being planned, right? When we committed a genocide against the First Nations people, when we created a genocide against the First Nations people, we said some fucking crazy shit in the House, right? Let me see if I can find this. I have it. I do have it. Oh my God. I want to read it. I do. Am I going to find it? Holding up the shit. Holding up the shit. This is so fucking... Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Until there is not a single Indian in Canada. Right? Duncan Campbell Scott was to run the residential school system, right? The quotes that this guy said in the House, right, was astounding. I'm just gonna read this whole fucking thing. In 1920, Scott also pushed for and passed an amendment to the Indian Act making school attendance compulsory for all First Nations children less than 15 years of age. As a result of this amendment, Indigenous enrollment rose to about 17,000 in all schools and more than 8,000 in residential schools. According to Scott's report, 75% of First Nations children were enrolled in some school, which he attributed to a growing motivation among them to take up Western education. I mean, and also force, right? Clearly, the fact that education was now compulsory, right? It included all children between the ages of 7 and 16 had something to do with these numbers. Here we go. While Scott did not think the education alone was sufficient for civilizing the Indigenous peoples of Canada, he pushed heavily for it. When he mandated school attendance in 1920, he stated, "I want to get rid of the Indian problem. I do not think as a matter of fact that the country ought to continuously protect a class of people who are able to stand alone. Our objective is to continue until there is not a single Indian in Canada that has not been absorbed into the body politic, and there is no Indian question and no Indian department. That is the whole object of this bill." Because of his radical position, it is easy to understand why he's often associated with the saying, "Kill the Indian, save the man." In the discussion about whether the Canadian assimilation policies and the Indian residential schools constitute genocide, this approach is often key evidence. Scott summarized the prevailing attitude of Canadian officials. The First Peoples, despite many agreements with the Crown that guaranteed their independence, were to be eradicated as distinct nations and cultures. He said this in the House of Parliament. Okay? On record. That's where this comes from. That's the source. And they voted on it in overwhelming majorities to pass this legislation. That's what a genocide looks like, okay? A genocide is people standing up in the halls of power, declaring their intention to do so, planning it, and then doing it. We've got nothing like that coming out of the Soviet Union. We've got nothing like that coming out of China. And so what the Western capitalists are actually trying to convince us of is that China and the Soviets and communists generally can organize and execute genocides without talking about it. No. Like, no. Like, no, right? Like, no. What kind of fucking superpower do these communists have? Also, really crazy that when it comes time for, like, distributing housing, right? Distributing housing, distributing foods, free market chaos will decide it all. Free market chaos. But when it comes time to do genocides, you gotta organize this. We gotta pass legislation. We gotta regulate this. Okay. Yeah, it's funny that Kotkin has better takes on Stalin than most leftists. It's true, though. It's true, though. I have no idea what goes on in Putin's head. Yeah, he's definitely a good statesman, though. Yeah, and he's a gangster, man. Like, there's a story that I forget there's a Super Bowl winner, right? So somebody wins the Super Bowl, and he's got a Super Bowl ring, and he goes to Russia, meets with Putin, and Putin looks at him and says, "Oh, your ring, can I see it?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, okay, great. I'm going to give this to a world leader," right? And so he can look at it. And so Putin takes it, looks at it, goes, "Huh," puts it in his pocket and walks away. What are you going to do about it, bud? Write a letter? What are you going to do? Putin is the literal incarnation of the honey badger. I know that the honey badger means something, but I don't know what exactly. Honey badger, urban dictionary, yeah. A younger person who actually pursues significantly older person for sexual gratification of romantic purpose. Except in this particular case, is the older person Russia? Yeah, communists can make mistakes like the Holodomor. Fuck me. Capitalism kills 20 million people per year. Yeah. Hey man, make a note of the song and listen to it later. Canadian cultural. Oh yes, you said that and I forgot about it. Canadian Cultural Workers Committee. Death to the traitors. All right. Note made. Slip that over there so I'll look at it later. I would show it, but YouTube has weird rules, and so I don't want to get the channel. They accuse others about things they themselves engage in. Yeah. And when you listen to the Nazis, that was an actual tactic, right? Goebbels outright said it during the Nuremberg trials. He was like, accuse your enemies of that for which you are guilty. It's one of the most famous quotes. Hey guys, check this out. Check this out. Look what I can do. Huh? Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. My record is 13, just in case you were wondering. Putin is very popular. He plays the game expertly. Yeah. I have kind of a more... But I don't know that much about Putin, honestly. I haven't done the work, right? But what I have seen of Putin, and the thing that really made me prick my ears up and made me start really being like, oh, Putin, right? Is he consistently brings up why aren't we disarming? Why aren't we disarming nuclearly? Like why are we not talking about nuclear disarmament, armament, right? And he'll outright bring up like we were disarming with Reagan. Reagan was disarming. Americans love Reagan. They keep talking about Reagan, all this Reagan worship. Why aren't we doing what Reagan did and disarming nuclearly? Like why are we building more nukes? Why are we escalating this? He brings it up all the time, right? It's one of the major things that he brings up. And that was the moment that I really looked at Putin and was like, oh, like, you can say what you like, right? But he cares. Like, he obviously cares about the issues that are serious, right? And he's asking the big questions. Why, and who else is doing that, right? Justin fucking Trudeau isn't, right? Like, the European leaders aren't, right? No, it's Putin standing up and being like, hey, with the nukes, can we not? Maybe we shouldn't with the nukes. What do you think? Right? And you gotta respect that. You gotta respect that. I'm not a Putin simp either. I just, like, it's just that Putin literally doesn't care. He's gonna do what he feels is right. And sometimes his moral compass is wrong as fuck. That's probably true. Right? That's probably what it is that he's like shooting from his gut, right? He's acting from a position of, I mean, he has an awful lot of power, right? Which has been consistent throughout Russian history, that his position has a lot of power. Putin will talk about protecting Russian borders all the time. People love that stuff. Well, and it matters right now. What with NATO, fucking NATO pushing up against his territory constantly, right? Like, yeah, talking about escalation and de-escalation, I think really fucking matters to the Russian people, right? Like, they know what can happen, right? They haven't forgotten World War II, right? And they don't view World War II in the kind of like glorious go in, defeat the like Nazis kind of way. Like, they celebrate it, don't get me wrong, but like they got fucking annihilated, man. Like, living through World War II, like we talk about like the horrors that our soldiers went through, during World War II. And it was fucking horrible what happened to the soldiers we sent over there. But like the Russian people, the civilians, no one was exempt. Everyone participated in one way or the other. And it annoys the shit out of me when like we make movies or we tell stories about Russia and everything's like dingy and shitty. And I'm like, yeah, the place got fucking blown up. The Nazis blew it up. Like it got fucking blown up. And then on top of that, like not only did it get blown up, the Russians were forced to relocate entire communities and towns. It was a goddamn miracle what happened. Right? It was a goddamn miracle what happened. And the reason why the Russians defeat the Nazis is because the communist economy was stronger. Like Hitler fucking admits this. Like if you actually go and you read like what the Nazis said about why they're losing, phrases like we completely misunderstood the Bolsheviks' strength. We didn't believe they had the productive capacity that they did. That they literally the communist economy of Soviet Russia overwhelmed and defeated the capitalist economy of the Nazis. That's what happened. It's hard to be mad at the guy sometimes. He gives Russia a sense of pride on the world stage, something they didn't have in the later years of the USSR even. Well, and also he's got a very difficult job, doesn't he? Like he's navigating this nation through this tumultuous time. And I think he's being very wise in regards to the relationship between Russia and China. I think he understands that Russia is the junior partner, that they're very much in the like Canada position, right? That Russia is to China as Canada is to the United States, right? And they get that. And they don't seem to be too angry about it. They're not really upset about it. And so they look to be working with China very peacefully, right? Even going so far to create a currency together, the renminbi, which has the potential to really do some damage to the American dollar. So, no, I mean, and absolutely people will absolutely critique Putin and they'll be right. They'll be right. But it doesn't change the fact that, like, he seems to be doing okay. He seems to be doing okay. Like, no major war. Like, no major invasions. Like, the Crimea moment. People look at it and be, oh, how authoritarian and all that. But the people of Crimea voted for that. That's what they wanted. Right? So, like, Putin basically just, like, acknowledged that that's what they wanted and moved in to protect them from literal Ukrainian fascists, you know? So it's pretty difficult for me to, and I don't know enough about the Georgia affair to comment on it, but like, I don't know. Putin seems like a better leader than any American president. Like any, not any, but like any modern American president. Any president since Nixon, right? Nixon on forward. Putin seems to be better than any of them. Yeah. Fidel Castro said if there ever is a third world war, the fourth world war will be with rocks and sticks. Yeah. Like, we got nukes, man. Like hypersonic missiles and shit. Like if we go to a world war, it's the reason why. Like, I got really upset when I heard about, if you guys don't know about this document, Thinking Through the Rand Corporation, which is essentially the Pentagon, wrote a document calling War with China, Thinking Through the Unthinkable. And when you go through it, it's a psychotic document. They're literally arguing that they can destroy 30% of China's economy without the war going nuclear, right? And it's all predisposed on the assumption that China won't escalate to nuclear power, that we can go and destroy all their fucking boats and shit, but they won't escalate to nukes. And so literally they're just saying, like, China is evil enough to go to war with, but not so evil that they will nuke us. And it's so like bereft of like logical thinking. Like it's hysterical. Like it's hysteria. And at first I was like really upset that this document exists. But more and more as we're seeing, America's not moving forward on it. They're not willing to roll those dice, right? You're literally like, let's go to war and destroy 30% of China's economy on the off chance that they won't drop nukes. Like, and then within the interim years since this document has come out, China has like shot a rocket up from like Beijing and encircled the entire planet with it. Like, China is like looking at America while the rocket's circling around, being like, and we can drop that wherever we like. Wherever we like, baby. Are you sure? You sure you want to fire this up? And like, China's had breakthroughs in quantum computing that will make the computing systems that exist in the American military look like baby's first robot, right? Like, they'll literally like send missiles over and the Chinese will hack it 100 times faster than they'll be able to defend against it. Like, China's been doing this game for a long time, guys. Like, the art of war, right? Sun Tzu's art of war, right? You know where that came from, right? Putin's reaction to Afghanistan was to tighten border security against refugees. Yeah, very Trumpy. Yeah, appeals to right-wingers, for sure. But they have a social floor on suffering. Exactly, right? So Putin's a very, like, you can always point to stuff. And this is true of any leader, right? That's why I like a more balanced approach. Like, I don't like planting my flag and saying, they did this, therefore the whole thing is like, I don't buy into that at all. Mainly because, like, being the leader of a country seems fucking hard. It seems to be absurdly difficult. Like, you're going to make an error. You're going to make a mistake. And even worse than that, in fact, sometimes you will have to make a bad decision. That it isn't that you could have done better. It will literally be that the circumstances have come together and you've got to choose between shitty decision number 1, shitty decision number 2, and shitty decision number 3. And you won't, and there will be no way out. Right? And if you don't make a decision, that's just shitty decision number 4. Right? Like, that's called being a leader. It's like what Jean-Luc Picard said to Data. Sometimes you can try your best and still lose. That is not failure. That is life. How can you be proud when your leader sold out the most essential state-owned institutions for pennies in exchange for mediocre pizza? Yeah, there's that too. Well, Putin wasn't the one that did that. That was a Khrushchev, like Gorbachev, kind of Yeltsin collaboration. Although Putin hasn't really done anything to address it. You know, like, he's just kind of a continuation of that. So I definitely, that's the one thing that you could really put at Putin's feet. But at the same time, Putin has enforced, just as Gritting Guys was saying, right? Like a social floor on suffering, health, retirement, etc. So, yeah, Putin's better than any of our imperial liberals for sure. He's still anti-Lenin, anti-communist. Yeah. No, that's right. Right? Like, and he has said of Lenin, fairly recently he said of Lenin, that Lenin wasn't a statesman, he was a revolutionary. And it kind of like rang in my ear as like, oh, so like the Tsarists were statesmen, so you kind of view yourself in line with the Tsarists, right? Like that's kind of what I gleaned from that commentary. That Putin doesn't view himself as like a revolutionary leader attempting to build like a better kind of situation. He views himself more in line with the Tsars. Which makes sense, kind of given how he rules. Yeah, not pro-Putin, just respect for his political skills. Yeah. And that's another thing that gets me in a lot of trouble when I start to talking about other world leaders. It's like, you don't need to support somebody to kind of give a nod and a kudos, right? Sometimes people are just like, they do things and you're like, oh, okay, cool. You don't need to support their regime. You don't need to be like, you don't need to be like, oh, Putin, he's the greatest guy ever. To say like, well, that's good, right? Like Putin stands up and says, hey, can we disarm nuclear bombs? Like, I don't need to be like, yeah, Putin's the greatest. To be like, yeah, that's a good thing. We should do that, right? People get really fundamentalist about this shit, man. People get really fundamentalist. Like, it's like all or nothing for people. Like, they pick their guy and they're like, that's a superhero, and anything they do, I'm going to support 100% all the time. Or the other way, nothing they do is any good, and it's always bad, it's always negative. And like, both perspectives to me are incoherent and stupid. Like, stupid. Like, the people who are anti-China because China bad, they are so fucking stupid. And the people who are like pro-US, like the US is incapable of any wrongdoing, that every decision they make is good, are just as fucking incoherent and stupid to me. And because they're both fundamentalists. They've just decided that their thing is good or bad. That's it. And like, it means that you can't actually analyze things, and you can't actually learn or grow or have an interesting, nuanced conversation about anything. And it's annoying more than anything, right? It's just annoying. Like, yes, I'm sure China has done things that are not great. I'm sure of it. I'm absolutely positive, right? But does that mean that the Belt and Road Initiative is bad? Right? Does that mean that China shouldn't defend its own borders? Right? Like, does that mean that we shouldn't celebrate the major accomplishments that China has achieved through its poverty eradication strategy? Right? Like, let's have some fucking nuance. Let's look at things as they are, right? And respect that these people are just fucking human beings, you know? Like, they're not gods, right? They have their perspective, and that's the perspective they have. They don't have the benefit of history. Like, the only history they had access to is the history they had access to up until the point, right? And I hate the people who like, oh, they should have done. Okay, but they didn't, right? They should have done. Like, of course you can say that, 50 years later, looking at history and seeing how it all unfolded. Like, this is the most armchair quarterbacky shit I've ever heard in my life, right? Like, you didn't fucking know. You wouldn't have done any better. You wouldn't have done any better, right? Like, I think it's so fucking bullshit when people are, well, they should have done. Fuck you. You're telling me that the people who are actually in the country dealing with the issue as it unfolded around them are less capable than you, who probably couldn't even find the fucking place on a map. Like, shut the fuck up. Yeah, labeling countries democratic and authoritarian is a modern day version of phrenology. Phrenology. I thought that's what this was. The study of the conformation of the skull as indicative of mental facilities and traits of character. Yeah. Widely discredited. And like, and near as I can tell, authoritarian means a country that has rules and follows them. That's what authoritarian seems to mean. That the people come together, discuss how they'd like the rules to look like, create rules, and then enforce them. Even for the rich. And that's what makes it authoritarian. What do you mean I can't just buy my way out of it? What do you mean the rules also apply to me? Authoritarian! Ha, damn, there are rules and you have to follow them. Authoritarian. I guess that means the earth is authoritarian, right? There are rules and we have to follow them. Authoritarian! It's like childish. Straight up bringing democracy is the modern bringing civilization. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good observation, Gino. That's a good observation, right? And like, China is democratic, man. Like, it is. Like, National People's Congress. Like, anybody tells you that China is not democratic, you literally just go to the Wikipedia page. This is the National People's Congress. This is the structure of their government. And this is what it looks like. You literally just need to show them this graph, right? It has 2,980 seats, right? Representing the 1.4 or 6 or 5 billion people that exist in China. All the red are the communists, right? Every other color is a different party. There are different parties that exist in China. The gray are independents, which I actually rather love. I like that the second largest body that exists in the government of China are independents. They don't have a party. They just fucking, yeah, I'm the guy, right? And then from here, right, they erect all other organizations. So the blah, 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 what is this called? I forget. Oh my God. Anyway, they erect a secondary institution, right? A smaller group of people. It's very similar, in fact, to how the Catholic Church has like its structure of you got the priests at the lower level, and then you've got like the bishops, then the archbishops, then the papacy itself, right? And it's from this that Xi Jinping, that the leader of the party, is elected. Right? And like, but there are other leadership positions. You can see him right here. Secretary General, right, is a different guy. Chairman of the NPC is a different guy. The Presidium of the NPC, right, different guy. Like it's, and like you can take a look at it, right? Here's the proceedings to amend the Constitution and oversee, to enact, right, basic legislation, right? Like the reality is that you literally cannot organize a complex society without some form of democracy. But the only reason why we say, oh, it's undemocratic or it's less democratic is because it's not our democracy, right? It's not Westminster parliamentary democracy. And so it's different. Right? So it's a different form of democracy. They don't have like a Congress and a Senate and a presidency. So it's illegitimate. Like, shut the fuck up. No, it isn't. Like, no, it isn't. It's just a different form. And near as I can tell, it's a much more agile form. Right? Like, oh, they're actually listening to what the populace wants and then doing it. Can you say that of our system? Can you say that of Canada and the United States? Can you honestly and openly say that our government system listens to what the people want and then does it? Huh. China plus Russia equals US becomes an isolated backwater. I think that is going to be the result. For sure. Like, you just need to take a look at a map. Like, it doesn't take a genius to figure this out. Like, here's the Silk Road, or the Belt and Road Initiative, right? And I love this, by the way. So this is an older map. I need to find a more updated one. They're for sure going to build a rail right here into Afghanistan. They're already building it, right? The rail's going to go right in there, and then it's going to go here. And they're just waiting. They're just waiting for the United States to leave Iraq. It's going to happen, right? They're immediately going to build a rail from Tehran to Baghdad. Immediately. It's going to be like, dunk. It's going to happen in like less than a year. And then this is where things get really fun. Saudi Arabia, who sees the writing on the wall, right? The United States is in decline. They're pulling troops out, right? They're dwindling as a world power. So Saudi Arabia is pivoting towards China. And it's doing it because China has a significant problem. Right? And you can see it on the map how, oh, they don't have that much rail in here, right? They're getting like ports and building rail out from the ports, but you can see there's a lot more to be done in Africa. And the problem that they're having, I love talking about this. It's like one of my favorite things to talk about. The problem that they're having is that even if they can get into Iraq, right? So they're in Iran already, they're in Tehran. even if they get into Baghdad, right, they can't get through Israel. Israel is a state as far as like it's an extension of the United States. It's a United States military base. Like they are not getting through Israel. It's not happening. So what's Saudi Arabia doing then? Well, because they also would like get connected to the Belt and Road Initiative. Like they absolutely, you can see it, it's already happening, right? They're already letting it into the ports and all that kind of stuff. So they're already on board for this shit, right? But they want connected to the main line. So when the Americans leave Iraq, Tehran connecting into Baghdad, that's absolutely going to happen. And then Baghdad into Riyadh, right? And probably into Medina, right? Going over to the United Emirates, all that kind of shit. So how are they solving this problem? Because they can't get through Israel, you see? Like Israel's territory goes right up there. So Saudi Arabia is building a new city called Nome. It's going to be in this area here, right? It's not even on the map yet, right? It's not even on the map yet. And the goal of the city is to build a bridge over the Gulf of Aqaba. Or Aqaba? Aqaba. Aqaba. It's like Agrabah, but Aqaba. That's fun. And they're going to build a city named Nome so that they can get, probably right here, so that they can get a bridge across it, right, to connect in with Egypt. So they'll get the rail to Nome, and then it'll go Nome, likely to the Suez Canal, or the Suez Canal, and then from the Suez Canal to Cairo, and then from Cairo into Libya, Sudan, and all this kind of stuff. And then they'll have the Belt and Road Initiative in Africa. And so all of this is going to be connected by rail. Who's shit out of luck? And in the meantime, South America, right? South America is not going to work with the United States. The United States basically has put sanctions all across this place. And Guatemala and Nicaragua, what, you think Mexico is going to hang out? Right? Like, China's taken this shit over. And it's doing it peacefully through trade. Straight up. It's just doing it peacefully through trade. Saying like, hey, we'll make all your shit. That's fine. And the United States is just going to turn into like a shit backwater. It's going to go into like 100 years of humiliation, for sure. Where like the United States is just going to become a shithole country. It doesn't have to. That's the most embarrassing part. Like it literally doesn't have to. It just needs to chill the fuck out. Just needs to chill the fuck out and be like, hey, you don't need to like base your thinking process based on supremacy, right? That these principles of supremacy, specifically white supremacy, you don't need to maintain this. You don't need to maintain this idea that there needs to be a number one, right? Like, it's just completely beside the point. There doesn't need to be a number one. The whole concept of there being a number one is leading them into all kinds of trouble. Like, how about just be another one? How about that? How about you treat all of these countries as if they are equal in validity to your country, right? Well, that place is different and has different characteristics and is a different kind of a place, but I respect that it is equal in its validity, that it is just as valid as we are. How about that? No, it's all about supremacy and domination and control. Okay, buddy, you're going to sit in the corner for a little while. That's exactly what's going to happen. The entire rest of the world, you wait. When they start voting in these fucking nut job Republicans and they vote fucking Donald Trump back in, well, you think Europe's going to stick around? You think Europe's going to look at the United States and be like, oh yeah, cool and normal. Yeah, totally cool fucking normal. Right? Or do you think the Europeans are going to be like, hey, we've seen this shit before. No, I don't think we're going to participate in that. Yeah. And so once Europe begins to pivot, once Europe pivots, as Australia is already pivoting, Australia is pivoting towards China. This is an inevitability. Like, unless the United States literally pulls the trigger and starts dropping bombs on China, Australia is going to pivot towards China. China is their number one trading partner. When the 2008 financial collapse happened, Australia was immune to it because of their relationship with China. They know what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? Like, they know that they need to connect in with China and they need to stay connected in with China, right? And eventually the European nations are going to be like, wait, why do we need these guys? Why do we need this crazy hick, like, backwater nation that's like constantly gravitating between like a guy that talks like this and a guy that talks like this, and it's like, yeah, the worst deal in the history of travel. Oh, it's so terrible, right? The United States is constantly flip-flopping between like ruthless secularism and crazed Christian fundamentalism, right? And both of these guys love to destroy countries. Like, there's only a matter of time before the Europeans are just like, okay, buy their United States, right? Like, there's only a matter of time before they look at this rail system, they realize that all their shit's coming from China, right? That it's, this is the future of the world. This is the future of the planet. For sure. And it needs to be restated. This high-speed rail, right? This high-speed rail, it can go up to 300 kilometers an hour. Some places it goes 600 kilometers per hour. There isn't a single rail of high-speed rail in the United States or Canada. That Justin Trudeau has said, we're going to build high-speed rail from Toronto to Ottawa, or to Montreal, rather. It's like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. I'm sure the capitalist class is going to let us do that. I'm sure they're not going to buy up all the land that's required for that and then get in the way of it, cause a whole bunch of problems. And I'm absolutely sure that they're going to spend a whole bunch of money on for good materials, and they'll build it correctly. Yeah, absolutely, that's going to happen. And it'll be cheap and affordable too to use, right? Because the capitalists aren't going to like toll the shit out of that. So we'll get like the one rail eventually in 40 years between Toronto and Montreal. Meanwhile, fucking China. And this is just the start. Like, China's fucking gonna go off the chain, dude. They're gonna make us look fucking stupid. They're gonna make us look stupid. Like, we're gonna look dumb. Like, hey, we're the greatest country in the world. We're number one, you know. The United States of America is the greatest country in the world, you know. We landed a man on the moon. Yeah. Like, that's what we're going to sound like. You're from America is the most free and independent. You know, my grandpappy showed up in America with $1. And he was, you know, he was able to build a home and create a family. And you can't do that anywhere else in America. Like, that's what we're gonna fucking sound like to these guys. We're gonna be so, and like literally, like, I'm allowed to have a gun, and I should be able to drive the biggest car, and I should have, like, we're gonna sound very stupid. We're gonna sound very, very, very stupid to the rest of the world that's literally like, hey, do you just want to trade peacefully with one another? Hey, we make this. Do you want this? Oh, you guys got you guys got some like uranium over there? Okay, cool. Right? Like, look at how friggin' quickly, like, America left Afghanistan. Right? 2 days later, the Chinese were in there providing aid to them, sending them stuff. They are building the rail already from the Kashgar prefecture through the Wakhan corridor into Kabul. They're going to have that done. It's going to be done fast. It's going to be done real fast. The Chinese know how to build shit, right? They're going to build that thing, and it'll be done in probably a year. And then in 5 years' time, Afghanistan will be a completely different country, right? Even if it ends up being like a Taliban dictatorship, and where they hoard all the wealth for themselves and all that kind of stuff, it's still going to be fucking better than it is now. And it's very likely that the Taliban are not going to operate that way. That they are actually going to do stuff to improve their own country, right? Like, this narrative that the Taliban are, like, crazed, insane, it's like, no. Like, they do stuff to try to, like, the only period of time in Afghanistan in the last 50 years where the opium fields, where they produce fucking heroin and opiates and all this, was banned, was when the Taliban was in charge. It's extremely likely that they're going to ban that again, especially as they link up with China, who has a pretty good experience with the negative aspects of opium abuse. So, like, and we're never going to hear about this. They're never going to report on this, right? We're never going to hear about, like, Afghanistan is looking at the economic miracle that China just went through and is thinking, yeah, we could go for that. For sure we could go for that. Wouldn't that be great? You know? Wouldn't that be great? We just experienced, what, like 50 years of war? Yeah, let's maybe build some shit. Anyway, what are you guys talking about? I was telling another channel, China would drop nukes over Taiwan. I don't think so, dude. Like, this has always been contentious, right? This whole situation is actually really interesting. Really, really interesting. Like, if you're trying to tell me that Taiwan is like the real China, you're stupid. The only reason why Mao wasn't able to get into Taiwan and take it over was because of interventions from the United States military. That's straight up the truth. That, like, this issue would have been resolved long ago if it wasn't for the United States military. And the United States military has always stood between Taiwan and China. And for exactly the reasons that you expect, right? The United States wants a military base there. They want to dominate China. They want to control the region, right? They don't want China to be able to come in, take Taiwan over, and then use it as a major off port. Right? They don't want this to turn into like a major place where they can send out lots of military infrastructure and build from here. They absolutely don't want that. So Taiwan is like enormously controversial. And, but like the Chinese royals ruled from Taiwan. Like it's 100% part of China. Taiwan has never declared its independence. It's never, it's always been considered part of China. That this idea that Taiwan is its own free, independent country is very much a Western propaganda, a Western propaganda thing. I'm blanking on the word. It's a propaganda campaign so that they can fucking get a military base there. Like, I mean, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about, dude? I was telling another channel, and I think they muted me, really PO'd the capitalist, dopamine rush, I'm evil, yeah. No, they don't want to hear that, right? As far as Western capital is concerned, as far as Western capital is concerned, this whole planet is America's, right? Like, the concept of the first world, second world, and third world, we've tied it into economics, but it has nothing to do with economics. That the concept of the first world, the second world, and the third world comes up as a post-World War II edifice. That World War the first world was the United States and her allies during the war, right? So that's the United States, Canada, and Europe. That's the first world. The second world is Russia, right? So not part of the first world, excluded from the cool kids club, Russia, you go away, Russia. But also a tacit acknowledgement that, like, okay, you're your own thing, right? And then the rest of the entire planet, that's China, India, the Middle East, Africa, and South America, is the third world. So the vast majority of the rest of the planet is the third world, and that's owned by the United States. And that's explicitly stated. So, like... So the Americans think they own China anyway. So going in and fucking around with Taiwan is just them asserting their own dominance in their own land. Because America owns it. As far as they're concerned. And the idea that, like, no, China has its own influence and China is its own country, and, like, places like Vietnam, like, for God's sakes, when they went into Vietnam, like, when they destroyed Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand, right? Like, think about the major threat that is to China. Think about how insane that is from China's perspective. They dropped millions of bombs on Laos. They dropped so many bombs on Laos, there's still estimated to be 70,000 untriggered bombs just waiting to explode in Laos. Like, they carpet bombed these places, dude. Like, you want to talk about capitalist atrocities? You're talking about what happened to Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. Like, absolute barbarism. Absolute barbarism. What happened in these countries. And here's fucking China watching it happen, being like, well, what are we going to do about it? Like, what can we do about it? And in many ways, I view this Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos situation as the Americans, like, outright being pissed that China built nukes. Just outright being like, you built nukes? We'll show you! That's basically what it was. It's just brutal. It's just fucking, just like you're a big fucking ape. Just absolutely vicious and barbaric. The support for Putin as a blunt against Western imperialism, yeah. The Silk Road was basically destroyed and rendered irrelevant by Western colonialism, but now it is being revived. Yeah. That is exactly what I was going to say. China is planning a canal through to Nicaragua and railway from Mexico to Panama. Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Well, and Cuba has already signed on board to be part of the Belt and Road Initiative. And so what that means, because it's kind of odd, right? It's like, well, Cuba is part of the Belt, like it's way the fuck over here. But, like, you think about Cuba as, like, a launch pad into South America and South Africa. Or, South America and Central America, right? That, like, they'll be able to get goods in from literally, like, right here, right? Like, Dakar. So, like, the Belt and Road Initiative will just, like, straight up rail all the way through here, right? And then from Dakar, they'll just go, like, boop, over to Cuba, and then Cuba can distribute it from there. Right? And, like, Venezuela's going to get on board. There's a whole, like, communist, socialist federation starting to be planned in South America. If Brazil swings over to Lulu, I always forget. If it swings over to the socialist in the next election, which it's looking like it's going to, in this period of time when Venezuela recently had an election, by the way. Vast majority Maduro. Huge Maduro support. Enormous Maduro support. So, like, this idea that Maduro's a dictator, like, shut up. Like Jon Stewart recently said this. He had on, like, one of the Guaido hacks to claim that Maduro is a dictator, and it, like, made me completely lose faith in Jon Stewart as a critical thinker and a critical speaker. It's, like, as pro-imperialist as you can get. And just, like, uncritically just repeating pro-imperialist lines regarding Venezuela. Oh, yeah, Venezuela, it's a dictatorship. That's why people come out in droves to support Maduro, right? In their open elections that the UN observes. Right? It's fucking embarrassing. Anyway. Via trains are intentionally slowed down in Canada so the airline business is not adversely affected. Yeah, like capitalism, eh? Capitalism. Efficiencies. Taiwan would absolutely drop nukes over Taiwan. Taiwan is to China as Miami is to Cuba. I don't know, dude. Like, well, and I mean, like, they're not going to risk it, is the thing. Like, America's not going to risk it. And I do think it is a matter of time, right? Like China is going to go into Taiwan. Like it's going to eventually go in there. And like when you take a look at like the history of China and you take a look at the history of Taiwan, it's like, yeah, this is an issue that should have been resolved like 50 years ago, right? It should have been resolved when Mao was in power. The only reason it hasn't been resolved is because of foreign intervention by the United States. Like this is an old battle. This is an old one. And like China's going to go in there, dude. And when they do, I'm going to be like, yeah, it's their province, right? They're just I think that this is one of the shittiest propaganda shit that they do, is that they have Taiwan listed here and it's got the same like size lettering as like Japan or South Korea. Like it's a Chinese province. Like it is. As far as anyone should be concerned. Like just because the Americans say otherwise doesn't mean fucking anything. Ugh. I love talking about the Belt and Road Initiative, dude. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. If you don't know about the Belt and Road Initiative, then you don't know like anything about international politics. Like the Belt and Road Initiative is central to international politics, and it makes a lot of events that happen make a lot more sense. Like anytime you hear anything in Belarus, like I mean, like take a look. Like anytime you hear anything about Belarus, well, isn't that funny? We're all Belarus, Lukashenko, right? Okay, from Moscow to Warsaw into the rest of Europe, the only connection into Europe currently, because these are rails to be planned but not yet built. The only rail goes through Belarus, through Minsk. Like, oh man, I can't imagine why Westerners are so upset about Belarus. Why is Belarus always in the news? Because they would love to shut this down. Like, are you kidding me? America especially is like, yeah, let's shut this down. Let's just blockade this. Create a blockade in Belarus, right? So Belarus can't get any goods out, right? So that starves this. And, well, what does that mean? That means that Europe needs to rely on us, America. Like, the Americans are as shitty as it gets. It doesn't get shittier. Well, guys, I hope that each and every one of you is doing really well out there, honestly. What an intense one this was. This was an intense one. I feel like I got through my depression and I had all this like energy to like dump out, and so I did. Ugh. Got a couple of good clips in there, I bet, though. Kind of wish I wasn't wearing this shirt, but what can you do? What can you do? Maybe it'll give me like a fun-loving vibe. What do you think? What do you think? Time passed away quickly. Yeah, Mark. It's always a party when I'm around, baby. I want each and every one of you to remember, okay? And I mean this. I mean this really from the bottom of my heart, okay? Each and every one of you is a quantum being standing around in quantum energy. What this means is that your existence is just as valid as anybody else's existence. That these fuckers who are walking around saying, oh, we're not equal from one another, I'm very tall, and I this, like all of that is illusionary and beside the point, right? Sure, we're not equal in our capabilities or in our skill sets and all that kind of stuff. Or we're not equal in how easily we can sell ourselves to the capitalist death cult. But we are equal in our validity. That my experience and your experiences are equal to one another. And that's very important for us to remember, because that's the basis of our solidarity with one another. These capitalists are spending billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars trying to make it so that we don't realize it. Don't let them. Revolt. Rebel. Repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.